So people, I remember what I wanted to talk about. I was talking about autism. I remember what I want to talk about. I was talking about savants. And I said, watch, I'm gonna turn off this camera and remember. It took me like 3 seconds, I remember. Look, so I study a lot of biology, right? I'm at the high school. You got trees, you got water, there's probably microbes in that water. You got the people, you got birds, probably, you got grass, all types of stuff, right? You got all them trees over there, all this good stuff going on. We live in a world of biology, and people kind of study, the different aspects of it. We understand how, like, a lot of cellular activities work. We understand evolution. And with all of that put together, you can kind of get, like, a sense of, like, it's kind of a whole thing. That's why I talk about something like the universal organism and, like, collective evolution. And kind of on that note, I kind of see that evolution at the end of the day, even with every individual species, even with the universal organism, it's kind of like a collective growth. It's like, you know how, like, you can have, like, you can plant a couple seeds, have a little patch of some certain plant. Next thing you know, it grows and it germinates and puts out more seeds. And next thing, that little patch is like a whole bunch. And then eventually it turns like a whole forest. It's like very similarly, that's kind of what, like, all the biology is doing. It's a, what do you want to call it? It's like a collective, biodiverse, like, forest almost. The whole planet, and that's just our planet, we can consider the whole universe, how much life there might be. But what I really see is it's like a growth, and, like, the whole thing evolves. It's not just like one organism. I mean, there is, individual evolution within, certain species and stuff. But collectively, the whole thing is a giant, I mean, I guess you could say, like, the whole universe. It's the universal organism, whatever. And I mean, even if, certain planets, develop to the point that, different organisms can go off of that planet and go spread their genes to other planets, and then they dominate or whatever, all of that is part of the collective growth of biology, and that could be universal, And so what I'm really trying to point out is that it's really this collective growth that is kind of what's going on. Like, even, like, honestly, if humans all died today, every single one, we went extinct, then the rest of biology would continue to develop, and eventually some other intelligent species would dominate. Like, there's already other species that are intelligent, and they would just probably come up and maybe eventually evolve into something like us, maybe even better, But either way, like, you could wipe us out, you could wipe out all the intelligent life. Like, we had what was it? Like, where 95% of the biology got wiped out, had to, like, restart from 5%, and here we are. We came from that, And so, I mean, you already see, it's, how do I say it? It goes back to that same concept of, like, the collective evolution, because that's really what it is. And so yeah, that's something I just want to point out. Like, I think it's an evolving perception of it all, I guess, evolving perspective. I was thinking last night about how, like, everybody has their personal autonomy as, like, an individual organism. But yeah, I mean, individual organisms live and die, and there is survival of the fittest, whatever. But yeah, at the end of the day, there's, like, this collective growth of biology. Even if this whole planet got wiped out and there's biology elsewhere and it continues to thrive and it spreads from its planet on, that's still the same type of evolution, and it's all just life itself growing and evolving. I mean, at the end of the day, you could call that the universal organism, you know, growing and evolving, you know. Almost like, smells like exhaust fumes, like really bad. Almost like your body's made up of individual cells. You know, certain cells, I guess there's survival of the fittest in your own body. If certain cells get damaged, they die and they get replaced or whatever. And your body's like this transforming thing. It ages, and, you know, also, let's say, I don't know, whatever happens. You work out, you get some sun, you get tan, you grow some new muscle cells, it changes, you know? It's an environment for the cells. But I guess that's a collective growth right there. But I mean, like, the universal organism is like this evolving thing, and it has, you know, I'm really like just, I think it would just be stupid to think there's not life elsewhere in this universe. Understanding how big it is and understanding how life works, you know. We understand DNA and everything. It's just a matter of time before we really come to see that, before it's verified for us. So yeah, just on that premise, you know, it's almost like, I'm not gonna say it's guaranteed, but, you know, very likely. And on that premise, you know, you kind of see this type of universal organism type of evolution, you know. And I just think it's cool to think like that. Like, it's not really about us individually. It's not about us as just a species. It's really like a universe that has life, and that life is trying to like proliferate. You know, like any life, you know, came out of the raw material, or I'm not just gonna say the material, the raw, I don't even know if I should say raw, more like just the circumstantial conditions that were here, you know, it all came out of it, you know, however these conditions came about, you know, life came out of it, and it's works in the way it does. It just, life finds a way. It tries to figure out what works, and whatever works, it continues, it proliferates. Whatever doesn't, it gets knocked off. And I mean, it's just like, that's about to be annoying. I'm walk back here a little bit, maybe. Hey man, if you're gonna, so anyway, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. What was I gonna say? Life finds a way. What was I saying? Oh yeah, circumstantial stuff. It kind of reminds me of like artificial intelligence. Like, we program it with like a goal. Here's like, we basically say, you know, we could like say, figure out this maze, get to the end of this maze. It'll try like everything, whatever works, it'll continue on that. Whatever it finds out is like a dead end, it'll cut off, and it just keeps doing whatever works until it gets to its goal. So what is the goal of biology? Is there a goal? I've talked about it. I said it's like kind of like a self-awareness, like the universal organism becoming self-aware, and then eventually like it's almost like a self-coordination. Intelligence, you know, we're just like, you might call ourselves aspects of the universe that are learning about the universe. So it's really the universe learning about itself. It's almost like a self. It's almost like when we're babies, we learn about our own body and we coordinate our own movements and stuff. Like, you know, you learn how to walk, you learn how to throw something, you know. That's almost like the same thing. Like the universe, we are aspects of the universe learning about the universe. So it's like the universe becoming self-aware and like coordinating its own body. And the more we could become capable of through learning, the more we learn to like, you know, handle affairs maybe, and kind of just manage the situation, the more it's that same premise, like the universe becoming self-aware and kind of coordinating its own body. And And I think ultimately it's just like a certain like level of maturity, which might be like I don't know, like the end goal of life. And I guess it's like an intellectual maturity. And that's the thing, it's like, humans, for instance, we're all individuals, but we can cooperate at a high level if we want to. And we have all these systems and we work together and we do stuff. And I mean, that is almost probably similar to like the cells in your body. Like they're individual, but they work together in unison and they coordinate to allow certain movements. Like I said, if there's like a universal organism, okay, then kind of like it's learning about itself through us. We're just aspects of this universal organism that are learning about itself, And so yeah, just kind of like the individual cells in your body, which are all coordinated and work together to like help your body do what it does. Like the more people learn, work together and accomplish stuff, and we can manipulate systems. It's almost like the universal organism learning like a certain level of self-control, like it's almost the same thing, just like coordination. I mean, obviously we're all individuals, right? But I think ultimately, see, that's the thing, like some people don't think of themselves as, part of like a population of a species or anything like that. People like to think of themselves as individuals, and that's the truth, man, because you're going to live and die in your own time, it's your life, your body, whatever. But I mean, collectively, if you look at it, like I said, it's like a collective growth, a collective evolution. And you can see that. Like, honestly, we can look at certain plants or animals. Like, we look at ants, for instance. We don't say, oh, that's Betty and that's Bob and that's Fred. No, we say these are just ants. There's a population of ants. We can look at any other species and we say something similar. And but we don't think of ourselves like that because we all know ourselves as individual organisms. We go through our own affairs, our own triumphs, whatever. We all have our personal lives, our personal names, whatever. That's just how we do, how we've done for a long time. But if you look, I guess like biologically, we're just like a population. And collectively, we do certain things. We only, there's only so much any individual can do, Collectively, we actually accomplish significant things, For instance, we're trying to go to Mars right now and become an interplanetary species, That could not happen with one person, It's something that the collective of our species is trying to accomplish. And so you can see that same concept. It's, people think of themselves as individuals, but really what's more important is kind of like the collective of it all. It's almost like there's all this different type of biology, and it actually supports us. Like we breathe air and everything, and from trees, and we eat food, all that stuff. It's a biosphere, and that's almost like what supplies the nutrients to us. And we're almost like the brain aspect. We're like the brain cells that are kind of intelligent and learning and controlling different like aspects of this whole situation. And it's like, how our body has these systems that support our brain and stuff, keep us alive, so we're conscious and everything. In the same way, the collective situation seems to have those different support systems, and we're almost like the brain cells. They're like kind of here. They had to evolve first so that the brain could even evolve, so these, higher level functions could arise and be supported, It's almost like a primitive collective organism that's been evolving, almost like a fetus in the womb, evolving. Like first comes random organelles, and all of a sudden, a brain, a heart emerges, then a brain. And, you know what I'm saying? It's very similar, very similar. And that's kind of like what evolution is doing. It's almost like a fetus developing. I'm telling you, it's just coming to maturity. That's basically the same thing that I just said, So think about that, man. Think about it all. Look at it in that way. It's a collective evolution. It's not about any individual. It's not about any, like I said, it's like a universal organism. You need all these other systems. It's like a brain can't survive by itself. You know what I'm saying? it needs the heart, it needs all the organs and stuff. And it's the same thing, like the biosphere, whatever. It's like a collective organism, at least on this planet. And then even beyond that, with other planets, whatever, there is, I guess you could call it the universal organism with all the different systems. We have galaxies, we have freaking stars, solar systems, and planets with their individual biospheres, whatever. I mean, so yeah, you can take it to that level. The collective organism of the universe is kind of evolving. It has systems that support the development of intelligence and ultimately the coordination of the universal organism itself through its intelligent, I guess you could say factions, whatever you want to call it. And so yeah, man, that's just something I was thinking of, and I kind of wanted to describe it because, this is just like a collective evolution of or not a collective evolution, but like a evolution of my own perception of a lot of things. And I think we're learning that as a species. We learn what evolution is, like just 100 years ago, a little bit more than that, but so I think collectively we're learning, and once we learn different concepts of this whole situation, it's more, we kind of operate a little bit different. We kind of change our self-concept, and, just thinking on this level, like I said, it might change the way people think of themselves and change the way that people operate and stuff. So I just want to talk about that. That being said, man, I think that's good for now. I'm going to go head out. I'm going to head back this way. I am going to go play basketball. I'll talk to you guys later. I'm out.